You know, we've been hanging out together all the time, spending a lot of time together and everything. Yeah, I know. I want to keep doing that till you're dead. What? I want to keep hanging out with you till one of us dies. Put this ring on your finger so people know we have an arrangement. Who's that guy? It's the priest. I want you to swear to God you won't back out of this deal. Oh, what's the oil in? It's a cake with two tiny dolls that look like us. Eat a slice. Now bring a little bit to me. This is really strange. Why are we doing this? Tax purposes.
Okay, so that stand-up is actually what inspired the research component of my project. I decided to study the origins of different wedding traditions, and I'm going to share some of those stories with you, and I hope that they change the way you look at weddings. So I'm going to start by talking about the ring, which is probably the most notable symbol of marriages today. The tradition actually originates from Rome, when they made rings carved out of two clasped hands, like you see here, and so this was actually an artifact they found. And the golden ring wasn't actually used until 860 AD, when Pope Nicholas I required all engagements be made with a gold ring. He said that a gold ring was a big expense for most people at the time, so it actually acted as collateral for your bride, saying that you were serious about marrying this woman. Diamonds weren't put on rings until very recently, when De Beers, a wedding company, or a diamond company, single-handedly created the market for diamond wedding rings with the slogan, "A diamond is forever." The woman who came up with the slogan never actually married. The wedding cake also has a lot of traditions, and wedding cakes were originally thrown at the bride or broken over her head, and it was one of many fertility symbols during the wedding. The tradition of keeping the top tier, or the anniversary tier, actually started because people told couples, like, in a year you're going to have a baptism for your first child, because everyone was expected to have a baby after 9 months, and 3 months later you were baptizing that kid. So they kept the cake so they wouldn't have to buy two. So the bridal party has kind of sordid history, and it wasn't always an honor to be in someone's bridal party. Originally, in Anglo-Saxon tradition, the bridesmaids were your father's handmaidens and slaves, and these women would dress up in the same dress as the bride to confuse potential thieves. At the ceremony, the bride would carry her dowry on her sometimes, and so before the wedding, kidnappers would try to take her and steal the dowry. So the bridesmaids were lookalikes that might get kidnapped instead of her. So in the same way, the groomsmen were originally called bridal knights, who were supposed to protect the bride, and that's also why the bride stands to the left of her groom. He has to keep his other hand free to fight someone off and pull out his sword. The best man comes from a different tradition. In 200 AD, Germanic tribes lived in really small villages, and sometimes there weren't enough women to marry off. So you'd bring your strongest or best friend with you to go to another village and kidnap yourself a bride. The tradition of having a stag night or a bachelor party actually comes from Sparta. A groom would have a party with all his friends the night before his wedding to bid farewell to his bachelorhood and pledge his continued allegiance to his comrades. So it hasn't changed a whole lot. The wedding dress has a lot of stories as well. And the white wedding gown didn't start until 1499, when Anne of Britannia popularized the white wedding gown. Before that, women just wore their best dress or a new dress to their wedding, regardless of color. The bouquet originates from the time of the plague. At that time, Europe smelled terrible, so people would carry around bunches of garlic and different herbs with them on special occasions so they could breathe. And so brides started carrying garlic down the aisle, and over time this turned into just carrying flowers that smelled good. The tradition of throwing the bouquet or the garter actually originates from 14th century France. At the end of the ceremony, the guests would actually rush the bride and try to rip off a piece of her dress for good luck. So instead, so that the bride wouldn't get hurt, they started throwing the flowers or the garter to appease the crowd as they ran away. The veil also has its own story. A lot of times when a bride was getting married, her father would give her away and she wouldn't meet her future husband until the day of the wedding. So to prevent the groom from running away when he saw he had another bride, they had made them cover their faces until the vows were already spoken. And in the same way, the tradition of not seeing the bride the day of the wedding, that also comes from that, so that the groom won't back out when he sees she's ugly. Another story that dates back to Roman times is the kiss. In ancient Rome, a kiss was the seal for any formal agreement or contract, so obviously the marriage vows were sealed with a kiss, so it wasn't always this romantic thing. At the end of the wedding, there are a lot of traditions, and one of the most popular ones is throwing rice. And rice was another symbol of fertility, and it also the reason it's rice was because it's supposed to mean a full pantry, so that you have a life of prosperity. But rice wasn't always the only thing thrown. It was thrown in France, but figs and dates were thrown in northern Africa, coins, dried fruits, and candy were thrown in Italy, and eggs were even thrown in some countries in Europe. But rice is no longer used because it swells in birds' stomachs, so instead couples today choose to use birdseed, flower petals, confetti, bubbles, and balloons. Another interesting wedding tradition is jumping the broom. The actual origin of jumping the broom isn't known, but it was an African wedding tradition. When the slaves were brought to the United States, they weren't allowed to practice a lot of their own wedding traditions, and they weren't allowed to legally get married. But they couldn't stop them from jumping a broom because they had brooms. So the broom ceremony represented two families coming together, and it showed respect and paid homage to those who came before them and paved the way. So at the end of slavery, African families stopped jumping the broom because they thought it symbolized slavery, so for a long time it wasn't done. But then during the show Roots, they showed a couple jumping the broom, so since then it's become a really hip thing for African American couples to remember their heritage. The tradition of breaking the glass after a Jewish ceremony actually symbolizes the Temple of Jerusalem in 2,000 years ago being destroyed. But it has a second meaning. It also is symbolic of the breaking down of yourself as a single person, and so that you can rebuild yourself as a couple. The last story is probably my favorite, and it originates from Norse tradition. And in Norse tradition, they would go and kidnap their brides, and they would hide for 30 days, and the groom's friends and family would come and find them and bring them honey wine every day. So for an entire month, or one moon of the lunar calendar, they would drink honey wine. And at the end of the month, she would hopefully be pregnant. And now, I also in my research, I learned a lot about DIY weddings or do-it-yourself weddings, because weddings are so expensive now. So people will make favors themselves. So on your tables, I gave you everything you need to make one of these. So you break your graham cracker in half, and then you put those at the bottom of your bag. And I have my own from my made. And then open up your chocolate. It kind of makes a box at the bottom. So then you break your chocolate bar in half and put those on. And then you put these two marshmallows on top.
Laurel, this is really helpful. I got friends getting married in June, and they're do-it-yourselfers, so I'm stealing this idea. Thank you.
like the tag. It says sending you some more love. And then you just put your 2 marshmallows on top, and then you tie it. And it's good. And I'll take them home, obviously. So now we're going to walk to the cafeteria to my table. What? We're coming, yeah, we'll come back. Bye, please.
What?
I've been with crackers since Puerto Rico.
Yep. Just keep rolling.
Yeah, it's just that open English nursery rhyme.
Yeah, it doesn't really have that much meaning.
But like old is supposed to, like you have to get it from someone who's married. It's a social marriage, which I didn't even know before that.
Yeah.
And same with borrowing, you're supposed to get it from someone.
Yeah.
And is it something from someone who's like unmarried? Isn't
And something new that you buy yourself.
yeah.
And
I only know that
you-
from friends.
And the pens you like.
We're waiting for you.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. I was actually texting my friends the s'mores idea for their wedding.
Do we get to text during our presentations now?
You know what? We have to go around this way.
The
Sorry.
pen system's like really
That's
well.
close.
They all need. Like,
Look, a pen. How much pen?
Sorry about that.
Oh yeah.
Wait, are the plants school plants? Yeah. Okay. Oh my god, it's beautiful. Oh my gosh, you have like.
Lily's not here, so you can take them.
Okay.
Wow, that's really pretty. Annalise isn't in our group. She's not here. Olivia. Yeah. Just. Oh my
God, you made us
please.
That's so pretty.
I did. You are over here, but I had cameras because I didn't know you were leading our group. The timeline.
Okay, so on your tables, I didn't want to make an actual menu because I didn't think it meant much, but instead I have a timeline, and that's the correct timeline for planning your own wedding and when you should do everything. And planning's like really important. So, and that was the main aspect of being a wedding planner, was just the menu. And then on the back for your menu, I have a price game, like the average price of different things. So,
What
you
price
guys
is
want
that?
to fill that out?
I have
Best guess, either.
Oh.
And I have the answers.
Which price of winning?
Oh, I can-
Yeah. So.
I really don't know.
When you say the venue, you mean the venue and catering?
No, just the venue.
Just the venue.
I think it's always in there.
You got it.
Yeah, but we did civil ceremony because we have relatives on 6 continents. So it was like,
I'm just making it really exciting.
And the wedding band and wedding DJ are 2 very different things. They have different prices. If you want to guess each of them
No.
separately.
No, it depends what kind of DJ. It's like
I'm guessing.
I feel like I'm like completely off.
I have no idea.
I don't know how much the DJ would cost.
Hours. Actually, I think it was.
Okay. Anyways.
Don't copy.
How much would an amateur on a DJ?
Okay. Are you ready to guess?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Okay.
I have no idea.
I wanted everyone to like. I didn't give options because I didn't want
I like that. It's good.
Watch TLC
to.
enough to like know
change
these
what you thought.
places. I don't know. Say yes
I
to
feel
the
like
dress.
these answers are so
Okay.
different. Let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, I can do this. I give up.
So I'm gonna start with the biggest one, which the first one, which is the average price of a wedding, which I think is kind of shocking. But the average price of a wedding in 2013 was $28,427. So
I was way off. I overestimated.
and that's the average for the whole United States.
28.
And then the average price of a reception venue is $12,905.
I was way under.
Same.
Like 5,000?
Same.
It's like 5,000.
That's what I put.
Okay.
Whoa.
The average price of a photographer, which I thought was the most surprising, but it's $2,379.
I got that.
I said $2,000.
I said 2,000.
Yeah. Okay. So now the wedding band and wedding DJ, and this will kind of explain why more people have DJs. A wedding band can cost the average is $3,084, which I think is ridiculous.
2,000.
And then a DJ only costs $988.
I
So,
3,000.
so I think most people would rather just have the DJ and save $2,000.
Yeah.
The average price of flowers at the wedding, and this means like table arrangements, bouquet, anything at the ceremony, is $1,997.
For flowers?
And the average price of a wedding dress, which I actually thought was a lot lower than expected, was $1,211.
I said 3,000.
Because if you watch Say Yes to the Dress, you use
Yeah.
like $5,000 wedding dresses.
Yeah.
But apparently that's not normal. The average price of an engagement ring is $5,431.
It's like 10,000.
So that's your collateral, kind of.
That's
Your
pretty
bride.
good collateral.
And then these are the ones that I think are the best. Is the average price of a wedding in Manhattan, which is the highest in our country, is $76,687.
Oh, I said 250,000. Come on.
Yeah, I said 20 people.
And that's the average in all of Manhattan.
In all.
Don't.
Awesome.
He was like, check that.
So,
I
and
guess I
then
lose Chelsea.
the average price in Ventura, California, which we all know where that is, it's $42,319, and that's the third
Where's
in the
Ventura?
country. So there's a huge drop between the Manhattan and the second one.
Still really expensive.
And then the average price of a wedding in Alaska is only $15,504.
Oh, so
So if everyone wants to go to Alaska to get married,
Yeah.
that's
We
a
have
good
to
place.
fly everyone out to Alaska.
Olivia, I'll pick the
I don't know how much time I have left.
I'm like, you're burning.
It's been about 20 minutes plus, well, 19 minutes plus the time Abdullah was texting.
Sorry, yeah, no, I said these are great ideas. I think after this, we actually might be done. I don't mean to interrupt. Does anyone have any questions or?
This was my backup in case I had extra time.
No, we're good. This is wonderful.
It kind of explains wedding dresses on the sides, and the difference between a mermaid and a trumpet. They usually get confused now, but the mermaid is like under the knee and trumpet is above the knee.
Which one would you choose?
Yeah, you had your own wedding.
My wedding dress is right there. I had to put it on, but. And then I picked 3 kind of different themes, and I kind of just made collage of them.
Lunch here?
No, I think we go back to Student Life Center. I think we're good.
I said we should get lunch here.
This is just for our group. We get to have lunch here.
Laurel, what wedding
Yeah, it
of
is.
the three
Oh, yeah,
was
it's
do
good.
you want?
I like the midget. And I like that picture. And that picture. I like
They
that.
put me at the kids' table. Right.
Have you seen those pictures of
Wow.
This is so cool. We should just eat here.
So it's
All my stuff's eaten.
Yeah. Oh, yay.
It's not a bracelet,
Laurel,
it's
thank you so much.
a napkin. I thought it would stretch.